What's up, familia? There is a rumor that Jeff Loveness and Michael Walrdon are out for Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, and we're going to break down that rumor right now. Boom! What's up, familia? Dayspring here with an episode of Power of X-Men to discuss the latest rumor on the internet. There's so many rumors on the internet, I can't handle it, about Jeff Loveness, who is a writer for Ant-Man Quantumania, and Michael Walrdon, who wrote Loki Season 1 and Multiverse Madness. They were assigned Kang Dynasty. Loveness was going to write Kang Dynasty, and Walrdon was going to write Avengers Secret Wars. And there's a rumor circulating right now online that they are both out of their respective projects. So I posted this on Power of X-Men yesterday, and the amount of reactions we got, I was like, let's talk about this as a community, right? Let's air out all of our feels, because we are major Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda stands here at Power of X-Men. And I always say this, WandaVision gave Power of X-Men the gas in its engine. We were just starting off as a podcast, and we started covering WandaVision, and the amount of engagement we got on the podcast, as well as the Instagram page, was just next level. It propelled us to where we're at today. So I wanted to talk about these rumors that are circulating, give our feels on it. If you engage with the Power of X-Men community, you know I hate it. Multiverse of Madness. No! And I'm sorry. I mean, hate is a really strong word, but it wasn't a good movie. I think most of us can all agree that it almost hit $1 billion because people like myself were obsessed with Scarlet Witch were going back to see it over and over again, because Elizabeth Olsen really carried that movie. And I want to make sure Elizabeth Olsen gets the credit she deserves. That being said, let's break down this rumor about Jeff Loveness and Michael Walrdon, and we'll discuss some of that. All right, so we are on LRM Online Genreverse. And the headline reads, Loveness and Walrdon out of the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. The article says, the latest Barside buzz around Marvel this weekend is both Jeff Loveness and Michael Walrdon are out of the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Loveness was writing Avengers Kang Dynasty, and Walrdon was writing Avengers Secret Wars. However, the latest rumor is that both are now out of their respective projects. Given that there is a writer's strike right now, don't expect any confirmation of the story anytime soon. So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about too. We've touched about this on our previous episode with Latverian Lad and Hemi. There's so many rumors coming out now, and you're like, there's a writer's strike, there's an actor strike. Why are these rumors just kind of coming out like this? Is it a leak? What is it? I don't know. Are these supposed to be leaks? Is it because Hollywood wants to make sure that these stories are getting out, so we're still kind of promoting these projects, you know what I mean, in the midst of all this chaos that's happening with the writer strike and the actor strike? I was about to say the Avenger strike, the actor strike. I don't know, but take this rumor, again, with a grain of salt. Please do not take this as word. This is just a rumor. That, of course, if the rumor pans out. The initial information comes from MTTSH and was then backed up by Casey Walsh. Casey, is it true that Loveness and Walrdon are off Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars? Casey Walsh replies, yeah, from what I've heard. Now, listen, Quantumania was a terrible movie. Oh, gosh, I cannot tell you how terrible it was, but they did Kang Nasty in it. How are Wasp and Ant-Man able to defeat Kang? This is a character who killed it in universe for Quantumania. It said that he killed Thor. And I'm sorry, Wasp and Ant-Man are going to kick his butt. No, I'm sorry. I not at all. The best part of Quantumania were the acting chops of one Michelle Pfeiffer, and of course, Jonathan Majors, and obviously the latter of which is going through a lot of legal troubles, but let's see how all that pans out before we officially comment on everything going on with Jonathan Majors. But they were the best parts of Quantumania. The actual script itself was lackluster. It was really boring. I have a lot of qualms with the world building with that. World building is something that's really important for me as a viewer, because when I was doing my MFA back in 2013, 2014, I took a world building seminar with author Dale Pack, and he is a very hard teacher. It made us really challenge a lot of things. And when you look at the world building of something like Quantumania and Multiverse of Madness, it's very flimsy. It's very weak, right? One of my biggest qualms with Multiverse of Madness is that the X-Men, Charles Xavier, the first time we get confirmation that the mutants exist somewhere in the MCU multiverse was on a world that red means go. Oh, God, that's just cringe. That's just so lazy. And yes, you can say I'm nitpicking, and that's fine, but you're speaking down to your audience when you do that level of lazy world building. Another thing I didn't like about Multiverse of Madness was when America and Doctor Strange are supposed to be at the High Line in New York. I don't know what it is, but they step on a platform, or America steps on a platform, and she sees her most deepest intimate memory, and it's just projected to everyone there on the High Line, and no one in the background seems to react. I mean, Strange can see it, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would on the High Line there be a platform where you can step on and you can see your deepest, darkest, most vulnerable memory, something that either causes a lot of pain or shame or happiness or joy? Why is that being projected to everyone on the High Line there? It doesn't make any sense. And of course, you and I can sit down and we can theorize, no, maybe only America could see it and Strange could see it as well because he's a sorcerer supreme, or because she allowed him to see it, or he was somehow stepping, whatever. We can, of course, come up with an excuse as to why only they saw, not everyone else, but it's not explained in story. In story, it's not explained. So it's just a very weak way of telling a story. And Kang was a joke in Quantumania, to wrap up that conversation. And Kang was defeated at the end of Loki, and he was also defeated at the end of Quantumania. Why is this character a big threat, right? I mean, Thanos was working behind the scenes during the Infinity Saga, and you knew when Thanos arrived, it was all hands on deck. There was a huge potential that you were going to fucking lose. I'm sorry, that's the truth. The Avengers were terrified to go up against Thanos in Endgame because they were like, damn, he's going to kick our ass. This is a character that's really tough. And so we see He Who Remains at the end of Loki season 1 kind of just be defeated. And then again in Quantumania, Kang the Conqueror is just defeated, and that's it. I mean, it's like that's two variants of the character that got his ass whooped. And now we're going to have the Kang Dynasty, and he's going to be the big bad in Secret Wars, presumably. No, it's very lazy writing. It's very lazy world building. But I think what one of my qualms was or is with this whole multiverse saga is the lack of connectivity for them. And it doesn't make any sense to me. Why is it what began in WandaVision carried through to Loki, carried through to Spider-Man No Way Home, carried through to Multiverse of Madness? Now, again, you can argue, yes, it is all connected, but the writers and the directors and MCU and Kevin Feige have not connected it for us on screen. We are connecting it for them, but we're talking about it in comments, and we are fighting amongst ourselves how things are connected, but they have not bothered to connect it. And that's really irks me. And again, Michael Waldron wrote Multiverse of Madness and Loki season 1. You would think he would have a vested interest in at least bridging those two stories, and he hasn't. And it's incredibly frustrating to me that is not what's going on there. All right. So, the one thing I do want to talk about is the Dis Insider, where back in March 15 said that Loki and Multiverse of Madness writer Michael Waldron renews over deal with Disney/Marvel. So basically he re-signed with Disney and Marvel following the creation of his production company, Anomaly Pictures. So, I don't know how that works. On the back end, someone can educate me in the comments. I mean, he signed on with Disney/Marvel. Can they move him around from project to project? Is he assigned just specifically, Secret Wars? And is he specifically assigned Secret Wars, or can they put him on another project or something like that? But, one of the things that I do want to talk about, if Michael Waldron is not on, Secret Wars, he has an interview where he was saying that in Multiverse of Madness, they purposely wanted just to focus on one universe so you could build stakes and stuff like that.
Invest in the reality of one alternate universe.
I politely disagree. I think some of the fun of doing a multiverse story is being able to pop in on other universes as sort of kind of a gag or something really quick and funny, i.e., come into a universe where Jessica Alba is Invisible Woman, and they're like, and then they go into the Fox X-Men, or they go into a world where Taylor Swift is Dazzler, whatever. I think they didn't do a good job focusing in on one universe. Again, I thought the world building was weak. It really does irk me that the Illuminati were defeated so easily. They were just kind of stereotypical, good guys who are like, oh, we'll take care of that witch. And then the witch comes and murders all of them and seemingly doesn't even put on a fight. Xavier versus Scarlet Witch. That should have been a moment that everyone was talking about. And instead, it's over like that. Wanda being the villain of Multiverse of Madness, of course, can kill Xavier, but you're on the astral fucking plane. Xavier's gonna put up a fight. That is Xavier's home base, the astral plane. He's gonna whoop ass. He can lose. Of course he can lose because Wanda is a powerhouse. That's fine. But Wanda didn't even break a sweat. She just snaps his neck and that's it. So I worry that Walrdon probably doesn't have an ear to the ground or some kind of connection with fandom. We all know that the people working on Multiverse of Madness did not watch WandaVision, right? We have Sam Raimi, who said that he didn't get a chance to watch WandaVision because it wasn't completed yet and that he had only seen the key moments of WandaVision and how it impacted the story. That to me makes absolutely no sense because, again, just like any form of storytelling, it's not the moment, it's a build-up to the moment. It's a groundwork you lay, right? We also saw that Elizabeth Olsen mentioned that she thought Multiverse of Madness was a bit redundant in terms of Wanda because she was here like, well, this is what we did with the character in WandaVision. And she was here like, oh, wait, the writers, people were working on Multiverse of Madness, had not seen WandaVision. And you're like, ah. So Michael Walrdon commented when asked about Wanda fans who were upset about her portrayal in Multiverse Madness and saying that he didn't get it. So you're like, no, I do get it. It must be really terrible to see your favorite character do awful things. And you're like, wow, with that statement, it tells me you really don't get it. It's not about Wanda doing bad things that we're upset about. We all knew going into Multiverse of Madness that Wanda was going to shatter the multiverse to get to her kids. It's the way you wrote her. I'm sorry, I'm so angry. I'm going to sip some of my lemonade. It was the way you wrote her. There was no dimension to her character. She was just straight up evil. That's it. Yes, we have this line that she's being possessed by the dark hold, but her motives are very human. If she wanted to unleash hell on Earth or make her Earth, which is 616 Earth, which no, sorry, the MCU is not 616 Earth. The comic books are 616 Earth. Just saying. But if she had more nefarious, very stereotypical evil motives, like unleashing hell on Earth, then you could be like, yeah, she was possessed by the Darkhold, whatever. It is what it is. No, she wanted to find her children. But it did not make any sense because, one, why didn't she just find a universe where their mom had died and she comes to them, she's like, hey, I'm Wanda from another universe. My boys died. Your mom died. Let's find each other. Boom. That's a meme, right? Boom. End of story. But why didn't you also show her going into a universe like she's helping Doctor Strange and she finds a universe where it's like the House of M, where she sees her father, Magneto, where she sees Emma Dumont as Polaris. We're always going to want Emma Dumont back as Polaris, where she sees Quicksilver, whichever actor you want as Quicksilver, and her boys there together as a family. And she's like, you mean this exists out there in the multiverse? Of course I'm going to break the multiverse to try to find them. And I'm sorry, she did not ever once think about the pain she was going to cause that other Wanda by taking her children away. I lost my dogs. I talk about this all the time. The grief of losing Victorious and Apollo was very profound for me and it has affected me. I would not want to go into another universe and rob another version of Dayspring of that love, of that care, of that relationship, of those boys from him. So I can't imagine that a mother would want to do that to an alternate version of herself, knowing how much pain she was in. And also, other universe, it's not really your children. It's not the children you know. It's a different reality of those children. Why isn't Wanda going in search of the souls of those boys? That's more where we would have liked to have seen it gone. It's just, again, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the character. And you probably would have gotten it if you had seen WandaVision. Now, why didn't he see WandaVision? It makes no sense to me. And maybe someone can explain it to me in the comments. One, we do know they reshot Multiverse of Madness, right? During the pandemic, they had to do reshoots for that movie. It's been widely documented. They reshot most of that movie. So my question is, was WandaVision not done by that point that you couldn't just watch it on Disney Plus? Let's assume it was not. Let us 100% assume that WandaVision was not done at that point. But they couldn't send you the finalized scripts, right? And I know a lot of things get written on set as they are happening, but they couldn't send the people who are doing your potential billion-dollar blockbuster, they couldn't send them those scripts. There's something called dailies that people get when you are filming, so you can make sure that production is coming along nicely, so you see footage. They wouldn't, Kevin Feige doesn't have an executive assistant who would just transfer it to Michael Waldron, to Sam Raimi. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And then also, here's the final nail in the coffin in that argument. Elizabeth Olsen wouldn't be like, this doesn't make any sense. She has since said it in interviews, and I know as an actor being on set, it's really hard to see the larger picture on things and how things play out. So we are playing Monday morning quarterback for that perspective. But like, you have all these opportunities to making sure that people are on the same page. We're also living post-COVID in a world full of something called Zoom, where everyone can just hop on and exchange ideas. I'm sorry, you are doing billion-dollar franchises, these IPs, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Kang, the Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty. These are billion-dollar properties. Why aren't you hopping on a 5-minute Zoom just to touch base? Do you know how many? I used to work at HarperCollins and a Hachette book group. Do you know how many stupid meetings I have been on in my life for? It was just literally no reason why we're in this conference room other than to just sound off pointless information that no one cared about. Again, the stakes were so low to do a stupid marketing meeting to talk about bullet points on what we're going to do with a reissue of a paperback from like 2001. So you're telling me that no one had the time to go onto a Zoom and discuss these billion-dollar franchises and what their approach was? Like, it seems pretty important that you would get these people in the same Zoom. Again, post-COVID, Zoom. Get in there and talk and exchange your ideas. There's no reason why Sam Raimi did not know what was happening in WandaVision. There's no reason that Michael Waldron did not connect what was going on in WandaVision. And regardless, I'm assuming Kevin Feige, as a producer, is reading these scripts. Kevin Feige, get your red pen and start saying, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. It's just so incredibly frustrating. We, the viewers, we, the readers, are doing the homework for the people producing this content. And we are being spoken down to, right? With quotes like that of what Michael Waldron said, that like, oh no, it must be really hard to see your favorite character do bad things. No, that is not the case whatsoever. If you're a Wanda stan, you're prepared that she's going to go to the dark side. And that is fine. That's part of the hero's journey of healing, of growing, of accepting grief. That's what the most beautiful part of it is. Don't speak down to me. I'm not precious. And this is why the X-Men animated series, by the way, has endured, because when you go back and you watch the X-Men animated series, intuitively, you know the story is very layered. There are a lot of nuances in this story. And you go back and you can revisit the metaphor, the character development, stuff like that. You are just turning out low-quality scripts and getting pissy when people don't like that quality of writing. I'm sorry, that's where it is. So how do I feel about this? I hope these rumors turn out to be true. No shade whatsoever, but Quantumania was not a very good movie. It was a poorly done movie. It is what it is. I thought the CG was terrible. I've talked about that with MODOK. I'm sorry. That was an insult to MODOK fans, A. And B, the writing was just not good. It was a really lazy approach to world building, especially for the quantum realm. I don't even want to get into it. But then also Michael Waldron not being in Avengers Secret Wars. Good. I'm sorry. You couldn't connect Loki to Multiverse of Madness. Those are two really important parts of this larger story. And I really do hope that Marvel Disney is going to be able to sit down and reflect on all these upcoming projects, because I'm not excited for the X-Men to be in the MCU. There was a point like 3 years ago, I was like, I'm just dying for the X-Men to be in the MCU. When are you going to get the X-Men in the MCU? And after what they did to Xavier in Multiverse of Madness, I'm fine. No, sorry. Thank you. Next, I can wait. I'll happily wait until you get it right. I want the X-Men to be Avengers level. That is what I want. Give these characters all the respect they deserve. Make them cool. Give thoughtful, smart stories. Make sure you flesh them all out. And don't deliver us a half-baked script. The X-Men are a very thought-provoking IP. It is imperative you get it right. We're seeing so far everything coming out of Deadpool 3. It's looking good, and I think Ryan Reynolds gets it, but let's see what we finally get in the end. But again, that is the Fox X-Men. This isn't the MCU X-Men. Anyways, Familia, you let us know your thoughts. Did you enjoy Multiverse of Madness? That's okay if you did. This is an open discussion. It's no one-size-fits-all. These stories hit us all differently. But are you happy to see Michael Waldron potentially not be on Multiverse of Madness? Do you want him to stay? Were you happy with Quantumania? Did you think it was a good movie? Put your thoughts down in the comments and we'll discuss as a community.